You think you know how to calm anxiety, but what if I told you your mission isn't just to slow it down, but to actually repair the system? You see, the difference between providing real help and making a fatal error comes down to one crucial detail, something called the ceiling effect. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why that one detail changes everything.
So to really get what's going on, I want you to picture the brain's emotional center, the limbic system, as a high-performance car engine. Now, in our anxious patient, this engine is completely out of control. It's redlining, it's racing ahead, and there's no driver. That overwhelming, runaway feeling, that's anxiety.
Okay, so we run the diagnostics, and what do we find? Two critical failures. First, the cruise control system. The part that's supposed to maintain a nice, stable speed, it's broken. That's our serotonin system. And second, the brake fluid is dangerously low, which means the brakes are weak, they're unreliable. That's our GABA system. So we have a runaway car with no cruise control and barely any brakes. That's the crisis we have to manage.
Now, when you're faced with a breakdown like this, you have two different toolboxes you can reach for. The first one has all the tools for a deep, long-term repair. We're talking about getting under the hood and actually fixing that cruise control at its source. It's going to be slow, for sure, but the fix will be durable. The second toolbox, well, that's for the emergency. It's like the fire extinguisher. Its only job is to stop the car right now to prevent a crash. It's fast, it's tactical, but it doesn't actually repair the underlying problem. So let's open up that first toolbox. Our goal here isn't some quick fix. We're going for a deep, lasting repair of that broken cruise control. We're working on the serotonin pathway.
To fix the system, you first have to understand exactly what's broken. So imagine serotonin is like happy confetti being launched from one neuron to the next, sending a message of calm and well-being. But here's the problem. There's this tiny little vacuum cleaner called the CSRT transporter, and it's constantly sucking up all the confetti to recycle it. Now, in our anxious patient, there's already less confetti to begin with, and this vacuum is just way too efficient. The party's over before it even has a chance to start.
So, how do we fix this? The solution is actually pretty clever. We use drugs like sertraline or escitalopram. You probably know them as SSRIs. And what they are, essentially, is a molecular plug for that vacuum cleaner. You can see it right here in the after image. Once we plug up that vacuum, it can't suck up the confetti anymore. The serotonin just builds up in the space between the neurons, and its calming message gets amplified and lasts longer. The party can finally get going. Okay, so to sum up our first strategy, blocking that SERT transporter is a really effective way to repair the system. But, and this is a big but, it's slow. It can take several weeks for those serotonin levels to stabilize and for the patient to really feel the effects. It's a fantastic long-term solution, don't get me wrong. The cruise control will be fixed, but what do we do to prevent a crash right now? And that brings us to the emergency. It's time to grab the second toolbox. Forget the engine for a minute. We need to boost the brakes. And for that, we need to talk about the GABA pathway. For this, we use a class of drugs called benzodiazepines, or benzos for short. Now, this is a point of confusion for a lot of people. Benzos are not the brake fluid. They don't replace GABA. A better way to think of them is as a power brake assist system. The GABA is your foot pressing the brake pedal. The benzo is the mechanism that makes that pedal incredibly sensitive, multiplying the force of your foot. So a tiny top suddenly has the power of a powerful stop. And this brings us to a crucial built-in safety feature. That power assist mechanism is completely useless if the driver doesn't put their foot on the brake pedal, right? Well, it's the same idea here. Benzodiazepines do absolutely nothing if there isn't any GABA present. They can only amplify a signal that's already there. They can't create one from scratch. This is a really important safety lock.
This illustrates just how precisely that power assist works. GABA's job is to open a channel to let chloride ions in, which calms the neuron down. What benzodiazepines do is they increase the frequency of that channel opening. I want you to imagine it like a rapid, controlled tap, 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 tap on the brake pedal. Each little tap lets a bit more chloride in, and the cumulative effect is a powerful yet very controlled braking action.
So this makes benzodiazepines a really elegant and effective solution for an acute anxiety crisis. The effect is immediate, but it is a superficial fix. We've managed to regain control of the car, but we haven't actually repaired the engine. And because it works so well, there's a risk of dependence. This braking assistance is elegant, but what if we used a method that was much more brutal?
Okay, now let's look at a tool from the very back of the garage. One we don't use for anxiety anymore for a very, very good reason.
It's time to talk about the sledgehammer of pharmacology, the barbiturates. This slide shows you the critical difference. If benzodiazepines are that tap, tap, tap on the pedal, increasing the frequency of braking, barbiturates are a brick. They don't increase the frequency, they increase the duration that the channel stays open. It is literally the equivalent of throwing a brick on the brake pedal, forcing it to the floor and just holding it there. And here is the fatal flaw. Remember that safety feature we talked about with benzos? That they need GABA to work? Well, at high doses, barbiturates don't. The brick is heavy enough to slam that pedal down all by itself. It can force the brake channel wide open without any signal from GABA at all. And this leads to a total uncontrolled shutdown.
This graph tells the whole story. Look at the red curve for benzodiazepines. As the dose increases, the effect gets stronger, but then it flattens out. This is the ceiling effect we talked about at the very beginning. Because it needs GABA to work, once all the GABA receptors are busy, the effect simply can't get any stronger. Now, look at the dark red line for barbiturates. It just keeps going up, straight from sedation to coma to respiratory arrest and death. There is no ceiling. There is no safety net.
So let's lay all our tools out on the workbench now and make the final choice crystal clear. Here we have our three options, side by side. For long-term treatment, you've got the SSRIs, our precision wrench that repairs the cruise control. For an acute crisis, you have the benzodiazepines, the power brake assist that gives you rapid control. And then you have the barbiturates, the brick on the pedal, which are obsolete for anxiety because they're just so dangerous. Your role as a clinician isn't just to prescribe, it's to choose the right tool for the right breakdown at exactly the right time. Pharmacology is an art of precision, not brute force.
So we've repaired the cruise control and we've boosted the brakes. The anxiety crisis is managed. But what about the insomnia that so often goes hand in hand with anxiety? The tools we might use can look very similar, but the target changes just slightly. So what's your next move?